Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Started off in 2000, and I got an apprenticeship over at Tats by Zap in Duluth, and that's how long I've been professionally doing it. I tried it out for a little while, kind of like out of the house, but I realized that I needed to be taught. Just, it has to happen because there's so much you need to know that you just can't really figure it out. And by the time you do figure it out, you burn through so many clients. So I started off, asking for an apprenticeship, and then it took me about 3 years to get into it. And I just ended up getting some, the lucky break of getting into the shop, and did a 4-year apprenticeship with Tats by Zap, and then worked for a couple years at other shops just to kind of get some experience.
I really just like his work and shapes and shading and amazing work.
When I got my tattoo equipment, I was trying it out on my own. I was like, wow, I really want to do this, and I really wanted to do it good. So that's where, again, I needed to get the apprenticeship. And so it's probably around 2000. And then, I kind of always been an artist with painting and other things, but I've never really aggressively pursued an art career until then, So then that's how I became to be in that kind of field. So otherwise, if it was something that was a little bit more productive in the painting end, or if I could take an apprenticeship as a painter, I probably would have done that as well. But as it goes, tattooing was really open, and it seemed to be really popular at the time too. So. But there's other shops that are called street shops, and a lot of those have flash. And the flash are the designs that you see on the walls everywhere and stuff. And what those really entail is just a lot of tracing and coloring in and stuff like that. So you really don't have to have that much artistic skill, but if you're really good at being very technical, that's something that's really an advantage. But when it comes down to the artistic aspect of it, it does help to have a lot of artistic skill or talent or knowledge of it, and so then that way you can manipulate your tattoos the way they should be to specific designs and stuff like that. So I don't really design that much flash because a lot of the times I like to let the people think about their tattoo first, and then allowing it to be more of a custom piece, you're going to really kind of run through ideas that they really want on them. Sometimes they'll cancel out a lot of bad ideas, which is really good. Whereas if you come into a street shop and you see the flash, it's called flash because of its instant appeal. People look at it and go, I want that, And in actuality, if you told them, like 6 months down the road, hey, this is going to cost you $200, they'd have been like, no way, But, because of the immediate time in the moment, that really, that's what grabs them. And so doing the custom shop, they just kind of understand that now they're doing the thinking of maybe what do I want, and I'm helping them out by being able to facilitate the actual artistic aspect of it, throw in my 2 cents, kind of give them something that's unique and different from just every old flash that you could get anywhere else. So some people really want something specific too, and they'll come to me as well just for, there's nothing they can do to it. They just want that, and if that's just what they want. Sometimes I can talk them into something better, or I can, maybe relate some experience towards it. But, if they really just want something, sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't, because it might be just something of a lesser quality, thing. It's something that I can do better, and asking me to do something that's not up to quality is just kind of like, okay, well, you can go to another shop and get it done, but it's pretty rare. Most of the time I'll do anything they want, except for racist stuff or gangster stuff and that kind of junk. So other than that, tattooing is a lot different from painting because it's like it's being able to talk to your canvas. It's kind of weird that way. I like it's like a lifestyle in general. It's, a tattooing is not just, just a business or just a, just something separate that you go to every day. It's actually really a part of you all the time. You are always a tattooist. And so when you go out to a bar or you go out into town and people talk to you, it's the first thing they bring up is a tattoo. And so there's a lot more to it than just work. So I like everything about it. We have piercings and just the kind of the whole genre of the tattoo culture and stuff. It's really worked its way into the American system. You know, most Americans are tattooed. You know, the majority nowadays are. And then you go overseas or something like that, and you'll notice that none of them really have tattoos, or none of them really into tattoos and stuff like that. So it's pretty amazing, you know, to see how it's all kind of developed, you know, through everything. So there's a good saying is to say, is the difference between a tattooed person and a non-tattooed person is that a tattooed person doesn't care if you're tattooed or not. So, you know, it's kind of like the way it goes. I really don't really bother with it. If people really are ignorant towards me, I usually just kind of fluff it off, because it's really not that much of an argument to even waste your time on. But, you know, some people have a strong terms towards, like, my grandparents and stuff like that. They're like, well, why don't you paint? You know, and it's like, well, if you understood, it's like, why don't you buy a painting from me then, you know? It's kind of simple as that, you know? But, and then a lot of people, like, you know, trying to get into this building in general, we encountered a lot of people who had stereotypes that are old stereotypes of tattoo shops and stuff, where they was filled with, like, dirty sailors and a bunch of drunks and stuff like that, or drug addicts, or just crazy people in general. And it was nice to finally get in here and kind of show them that it's definitely not that. I mean, my dad at one point said that it was a step up from a porn shop, you know. But of course, I changed his mind on that when he sees how it definitely isn't, and it's not even close to anything like that. So, especially when you have, like, 60-year-old ladies in here getting tattoos, it's kind of nice to, you know, be like, haha, I told you, it's not your rocker, punk rock people, you know, all the time or anything like that. So you do get some crazy people in here, but that's just the, you know, goes with the turf. So. To me, it's artistic stuff. You know, it's like a lot of, like, if you're going into a shop, some people get it because they just want to justify it for almost anything. And some people actually go in just because of like a memorial piece, or like a, what is it? There's all kinds of pieces that, you know, people get for different reasons. But I'd have to say the majority of them are like memorials, and or something that means something to them at some point in time. There's rarely a person that comes in and goes, just give me anything I want, you know, I don't care, or throw something on there, you know. And those are fun, because then they're allowing me to kind of do something, and they don't really care, because like the guy I'm gonna be tattooing today, he's like that. He's like, just go to town, you know. So I'm like, draw a bunch of stuff on him and stuff. He's kind of gives me a direction to kind of go with, and then I just take off from there. And this tattoo to him, I don't know if it really means anything, you know. I think it maybe means something to him in a sense that it looks cool, and that he can, you know, show it off, and it looks really neat and everything. But you know, most people just get them, I think, for, you know, something else that means something to them, you know. So to me, how they mean to me though is it's artwork. It's permanently on somebody's body. It's eventually going to go away. You know, all tattoos will eventually die off, and, you know, it's something that's not 1,000 years lasting. But the reputation kind of will stick around. You know, people will actually know of this person and that tattooed here. So that's kind of like what they mean to me. This is like a long-lasting impression on somebody, you know. Well, a lot of times how we do it is when somebody comes in with a design or an idea for a design, I sit there and I talk to them. I ask them, you know, kind of specific questions about where they want it. If they want it black and gray or color, how big they want it, and if it can be done that big. Sometimes certain things just can't be done the right size, or you have to take drawings and kind of alter them to make them more tattooable. A lot of times, so we'll walk through that process, kind of get the idea shaped. I will do some research on it if I need to. I'll go to certain websites and check out different pictures and see what kind of things we can mix match to make the design. And then so I'll draw up the idea a couple of times. And what will happen is during these drawings, I'll take some tracing paper, kind of go over them, and, you know, maybe switch some things up, make sure it's more two-dimensional design or so. Has some nice quality aspects to it. So I draw it probably about 4 or 5 times before I actually show the person. And then when I show the person, they look at it. If they want me to make any changes, we'll do that right there or something. And then after they've approved of the idea, then we book them down to the appointment, and we get a line sheet drawn up. A lot of the times, if I'm not drawing right on the person, I'll be drawing a line sheet on a separate piece of paper. A lot of technical stuff, you really need to do that with, like, you know, like compass roses and Celtic and stuff like that. So, and then I'll take that design and place it on them. We'll first set up all our equipment in the room, and at that time they'll be waiting out here. Once we have everything all set up, then I'll go back and start outlining it. Once we complete with the whole outline, we start working on the shading and coloring right then and there. And then once that's done, we give them verbal healing instructions, and then we also give them written healing instructions so that they kind of have a good idea of how to take care of the tattoo. And then once they walk out the door, it's up to them. It's their tattoo. As long as they take care of it, it should be just fine. A lot of times that's where the artistic skill comes in. You know, if you know how to do portraiture or anything like that, or ever done portraiture, yeah, once you know how to do that, it's just learning how to manipulate it with the skin. There's new innovations in different types of needles that we use now than when tattooing first started out. So there's a lot of things you can do now with the amount of pigments, the types of needles that you use, and your artistic skill to create certain types of tattoos. We do a lot of, I love doing color portraits. They're really fun to work on, and you really are working with a lot of flesh tones, so it's a lot of the same color of the skin, and the effects that you can do are just amazing, you know. So, yeah, the needles are something that have changed a lot. Another thing also is we use the types of healing knowledge and stuff like that really helps out. How you manipulate the machine while doing the tattoo will create a certain type of scab on your tattoo. A lot of the times it's not even, people are like, oh, it's not even scabby. All tattoos scab just because they all bleed at some point. And trying to create a thinner scab is the techniques we use a lot of times nowadays. And that basically just places the ink in the skin without actually, you know, really tearing up the skin at all. So that's where also like the apprenticeship comes in, because you learn a lot about how to manipulate your machine, the speeds and stuff like that in order to create a good tattoo. That's why you got to learn it from someone. Otherwise, when you're trying to figure it out, you'll just burn through clients that way. Nobody will go to you anymore.
If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org. If you have segment ideas pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund by the vote of the people on November 4th, 2008.